I'm just leaving right now our session of México en la Piel, in which we've created a space for dialogue with Mexicans living in the United States. Before we began today's forum, I asked Roberto Lamas, who's originally from Zacatecas and now a legislator in Zacatecas, but who lives in Chicago, to share a few words on something fundamental. Why is it that Mexicans abroad must vote, should run for office, and actively participate in Mexico's public life? As I listened to his answer, it was impossible not to reflect on one of the great contradictions of our time. In the United States, political discourse insists on closing the border, tightening controls, and portraying migration as a threat. Yet there is a reality that is rarely stated with the same force. The United States economy depends today more than ever on immigrant labor. This is not an ideological position, it is a structural fact. The U.S. is not facing just an immigration debate, it is facing a deep contradiction. On the one hand, immigrants are criminalized in public discourse. On the other, a significant portion of economic growth is sustained by their work. This tension is not new, of course, but today it is more visible and more costly, both economically and morally. Entire sectors of the economy, agriculture, construction, services, hospitality, food processing, and elderly care, by the way, simply could not function without this workforce. In many of these industries, workers are not just part of the system, they are its backbone. The uncomfortable question is simple. If they disappeared tomorrow, who would do that work? Who would keep entire supply chains running? Despite this economic dependence, migration has become political currency, especially during election cycles. A complex phenomenon is reduced to slogans designed to provoke fear, divide voters, and offer superficial solutions to structural problems. The result is a reactive, not strategic policy, one that punishes people without addressing root causes for real consequences. Control is compromised, but disorder is produced. Mexico, meanwhile, is no longer only a country of origin. Today, it is simultaneously a country of origin, transit, and destination. The border has moved southward and inward, and Mexico bears humanitarian, logistical, and political costs that often go unrecognized. In practice, the bilateral relationship with the United States has been reduced to a single issue: migration containment, impoverishing a relationship that is, in reality, economic, social, and deeply, deeply human. The story of Roberto Lamas illustrates the potential of the Mexican diaspora. He lived for years in Chicago and today serves as a local legislator, still an exception in Mexican politics. In a recent conversation with former Vicente Fox, former president of Mexico, he recalled that although he now belongs to a different political party, Roberto Lamas, in the year 2000, he was a young first-time voter who voted for change. He voted for Vicente Fox. The message is clear. When Mexicans abroad are invited to participate, they do. They are not outsiders to the nation's history. Today's special guest at the forum is Roberto González Narozdi, another example of the diaspora's potential, this time through sports, business, and philanthropy. The son of a Mexican who migrated to Detroit to work in the automotive industry, he has built a binational career that now impacts thousands and thousands of young people in Mexico and in the United States. His work shows that immigrants do not only send remittances, they bring back knowledge, networks, leadership, and vision. And here, another paradox emerges. While political rhetoric rejects immigrants, millions of families in Mexico and across the region sustain entire communities thanks to their workforce and their remittances. We speak of legality, yet tolerate a system that depends on the labor vulnerability of people who lack political voice and proportional representation. Immigrants have become a form of invisible infrastructure. They do not appear in speeches celebrating economic success. They are not recognized as strategic actors, yet without them, the machinery simply does not function. This invisibility is not accidental. It is functional to a system that enjoys the benefits without assuming responsibility. The real question then is not how to close borders, but how to manage migration with intelligence, humanity, and long-term vision. Recognizing immigrants as part of the system, not as enemies. That is the first step toward real solutions. Without immigrants, there is no sustained growth. Without serious policy, there is only rhetoric. And history shows that rhetoric, sooner or later, comes at a cost. Thank you.